Calibrated touching is one of the best ways to convey sexual power. The more quickly you start touching a woman, the faster you all will be getting sexual. Whoa, this is a real big shift for me. I was always nervous and shy about doing this. As long as you've been moving things towards this direction in the interactions, she is expecting us to move things along, and she wants us to succeed. I really believe that you have to be calibrate aggressive from the start. Start with light touching at first. She will just think that you are a touchy-feely guy. They are a little used to that. If wait until later in the interaction, and it comes off as touchy. One point of learning. I have been guilty of this myself. We'll touch a little bit, get to a point, maybe get to a making out. And then they kind of back off and they relax and they let the tension kind of dissipate more and more. Keeps that sexual tension building and keeps the power of your touch growing. Research study done to find out how sexual girls are early on in the conversation during disguised questions. Sexually charged conversations are 5 things. They are playful. You're trying to have a super serious sexual conversation with the girl. Like right off the bat when you meet her, just walk up to her and go. You are sexy and I want to funk you. That is not going to work. It has to be playful. Sexually charged conversations are flirty. I just did a whole speech for it, but if one move the barrier, and it could be as simple as saying, I am trying to get in your pants, as opposed to, I want to get in your pants, or saying down the line, I want to have sex with you. And using the future tense as opposed to the present tense, it could be as simple as saying, first and best part of sexual power is the willingness to walk away. This is where you make it clear that if a girl is not interested in getting physical, we are out of here. The girl needs to buck and bounce for real. That's the whole thing with sexual power, is you're not desperate. Desperation is the opposite of sexual power. And I will give you an example from my real life here about willingness to walk away. I used to have a problem where I would meet girls who weren't necessarily that sexual or that sexually open, but they would be attracted to me. They would be kind of weird girls. Like the last one this happened with was this girl who was a librarian who we will call Cindy. And what happened was these girls would be all into me. They would be calling me, texting me, wanting to meet up, and then when I go to escalate things, it would get weird. So the Cindy was sitting on my lap, grazing me, like literally almost I have a body moose knuckle. And she is like, oh, I'm not trying to see your room, but let us see it. So we go now into my room. She has now moved me into my room. She is dressed to the nines in high heels, like, these little leather skin-tight pants, wearing a jacket, and just looking so hot. And finally, I go to kiss her again. She stops me and I go, you know what? I'm done with this. I am over this. This isn't fun for me anymore. So you need to leave. And I walked her to the door, closed the door, and I instantly felt terrible about myself. I wish I could have told you I felt like a cold badass gangster, but I did not. I felt terrible. I wanted part of sexual status is sexual leadership. It is all about taking the lead, having a plan, and moving things forward. We are going to break sexual leadership down by talking about taking the lead sexually, leading questions, and adopting a screening mindset. So as men, we are expected to take the lead sexually, verbally, physically. We need to start the conversation, touch her for the first time, ask her out. The word sexulation is to move the conversation towards sex as quickly as possible. Move the physical touching towards physical teasing, touching and arousal, kind of quasi-sexual but not offensive touching, and to get the girl. I was just making sex, basically the overt and undertone of the interaction in a funny, socially acceptable way by using releases. So sexualization is escalating in the interaction verbally, physically, and logistically towards sex, just as the idea of we do. And they want someone who knows what they are doing and who makes the whole process a fun, entertaining ride, rather than kind of a process of getting to know them and doing all the conventional wisdom that girls do not necessarily need. Now, it is not to say that you do not need to get to know girls, and there is not any meaning in getting to know girls in sexualization manner, but I think are fun. Now, one of the things that I have to mention here is that these are not necessarily tactics to get attraction. A lot of people get confused. Some of this material may sound kind of cocky, and you are going to be like accusing girls of using you for sex. So yes, the tease is about escalating and pulling away. Escalating, pulling away, and then letting her think you are going to escalate by using bait and then not escalating. So that is the key with tease. The last one is lovable sex addict. This one I actually got from something off of MassF, but I do not really have the notes of it in front of me, but I use this one myself. But you can come off as a guy that is just extremely sexual and completely offers no apologies for it, but never does it in a creepy way. And the key to not doing it in a creepy way is to kind of use releases as early as possible and make the girls work for the sexuality. So instead of saying something like, "Do you think men know how to please women?" you would say something like, "Do you think men know how to please women?" Get away. So you blame her for the escalation and you push her away. That combination is really, really effective. So let's talk a little about the psychology behind the verbal escalation. I want to talk about the idea of subpersonalities. Subpersonalities are real emotion. So then I could say, actually, I used to always think I was right, but I had this experience. So now, by going first, I'm demonstrating that I am willing to give value, and I'm willing to tell them things about me, which brings in the idea of reciprocity. Humans, evolutionarily, are not the strongest of creatures. We are the smartest, but we do not have claws, or it can sound like some of the material is a little heavy on
Say things like,
I bet you that you are a little bit sexually insecure in a relationship. Or I can tell that you are totally the type of girl who goes after what she wants. Like, if your friends are telling you not to